Hello again, Apologetics III, Lecture 22, Martial Arts. Anyone ever of you guys here do some training in martial arts? None at all? Not into much. I've watched them on TV, like mixed martial arts, MMA, and think I know what I'm doing. I goof around with my sons, but I don't know what I'm doing. It's something where you just do it over and over and over and repeat it. But so what do you think about martial arts? Do you think it's okay for, let's say, if you had a child or a grandchild and they're 10, 12, 14, they want to go into martial arts, they want to learn karate or judo or mixed martial arts, MMA. Would you be okay with that, or what? I think you can't hear your own. Okay. They will not respond because of some reason. I think their mouths are full. But I'll speak for them. No, they're not okay with that. I wouldn't want my child to go into that. Why not? I do need your helpers, so stop eating. Just a moment. Please, just for a moment. Why not? Otherwise, I'll just read through this thing and you guys can just be quiet for a moment. Why would you not?
They're based on religion.
What?
They're based on religion.
It's based on religion. Christianity? Okay.
No.
On
Eastern
religions. Okay, that's true.
False religion.
So what do you think about Christian martial arts, where it's a Christian running it, and we're not going to get into the occult aspects? Would that be okay? Many Christians think so, but for you, would that be okay? If they removed everything that would be associated with the occult? Okay, some would say yes. It's a difficult thing because it's totally based in the occult. Now, doing a kick isn't necessarily, or a punch, that's not occultic, it's by itself. But all the teachings and philosophy principles and all that are based in Eastern, mystic, pagan, really satanic practices. And some people online are laughing, I got a black belt, there's no paganism, what are you talking about? Well, we probably taught you some things or some principles that were related to that. But if you can remove everything that was pagan out of it, okay, for the religious part of it, maybe it'd be okay. But then there's a whole carnal aspect. You're being trained to hurt people. Now, I will take this side and say, I wouldn't mind being a black belt or really good MMA guy, because if someone came to attack my family, I can just go and down they go. Even if they had a gun. If I was really fast, that wasn't fast. So that would be neat. I'd like to know that. I'd feel a lot better about myself. And some guys learn it well, and that's all they use it for, is just defense. And rarely do they ever have to use it. Somebody comes up to them and messes with them, they duck, pick their arm back, pin them on the ground, step on their back, and they are crying for help. So, well, we'll dive on into this. So if you're in the martial arts, online students, just consider these things. This is written by, these are from the last one, Russell Tardo. You read about that. And he had some rebuttals back on blog spots and didn't like them at all. So that's something to consider. Billy Jack, Bruce Lee, David Carradine, Kung Fu. Remember him? Ever watched Kung Fu as a younger person? Yeah. Chuck Norris, The Karate Kid, Ninja Turtles, and all these other shows. In fact, so many of these new action-adventure movies that are out, almost all of them, these guys that are fighting, it's mixed martial arts they're using. They fight, and all of them seem to know this stuff, or the women even. Do flying kicks and somersaults and all this stuff. We think it's so cool if you watch it. Martial arts were already popular in the Far East when Hollywood glamorized the fighting techniques with a string of low-budget but successful films. And although they highly fictionalized, they found an eager audience in the Western world. And it all became, I'll just summarize this, we got to where we are today, where it is just part of culture. It's what a lot of kids or parents have their kids do, learn it. And I'm not saying it's wicked and horrible to do that, because they're maybe going to protect, the child maybe be able to protect himself from a pedophile or a big bully. But it's very popular, and in all these shows that people watch, movies, very popular in that. So, what's the problem with it? He goes on in this introductory stuff. Next paragraph. Recently, several large specialized ministries have appeared, featuring the martial arts and strongman stunts. The average service held by these Christian karate teams has them breaking bricks, boards, baseball bats, and huge blocks of ice with their heads, feet, and hands. What do you think of that? Think we'll ever have anyone like that in our church, with our church? What do you think?
I have a hard time visualizing
breaking a block of ice with your head?
Yeah.
I've seen
And
that.
anybody in our church.
Oh, no, we wouldn't do it. I mean, having this group come in and show themselves. Like, no, we're not going to do that. Phone books and handcuffs are ripped apart, and other things usually associated with Eastern mysticism and the occult, such as nail beds and walking on hot coals, are employed in a spectacular display of strength and skill. Ministers around the world have invited these karate teams to hold crusades in their churches, knowing that they'll draw a capacity crowd. And then they can be told the good news of Jesus Christ. So what do you think about that? Get them in there because of the attraction of some guy that can do, break ice with his forehead, or chop through this much cement with his hand. That'd be kind of cool to watch, especially as a kid or a young person. Or the wrestlers that they have on the big guys on steroids and all. Do you think that's okay? And then you can give that big crowd the gospel. What do you think? You don't think? You don't think it's a good idea? Okay. Care to share why?
What does it have to do with the Lord? What does it have to do with the Lord?
What, the gospel?
No,
the other stuff along with it? Yeah, right. So that is just the, what do you call, the prop, or the thing that people want to go see, the draw, and then you have the gospel. It's kind of like Christian rock concerts and various other things. The draw, and you kind of wonder about what they're doing. But, hey, we get the gospel out.
I doubt that it's a very strong message that gets delivered in that kind of setting.
Well, let's say it is. Let's just say it is. So there's a problem, though, and he talks about that here. There is a problem with what you're associating the gospel with. We'll get there real soon, I suppose. So they've invited these guys here. While I do not, this man says, while I do not doubt that the good intentions and sincerity of while I do not doubt the good intentions and sincerity of these men, sincerity, though, is not the issue here. Truth is, and we have to be careful, the former is never a substitute for the latter. So while one may argue that Christ can be preached from any platform, we must also bear in mind that the method we employ affects the message we preach. For instance, how can someone preach on turn the other cheek when he's teaching self-defense? How can he preach, love your enemies, while teaching you how to hurt them? Now, I know, I see some of you going, Nancy, but there's, what about someone's attacking your wife or your kids, your grandma, your mother? Wouldn't it be good to know how to defend them? How would you answer that?
Well, I would know how to defend them, I guess.
You wouldn't, but
I mean,
would you wish you did? What would Jesus do? We can always go to that one. Or what did Jesus do? WDJD. What did he do? He didn't fight. Peter went with a sword, so put it away. He didn't fight, he wouldn't fight. And, if someone attacked his mom, I don't know. That scenario didn't come up as far as I know, but what would he have done? He wouldn't have just sat there and went, you guys shouldn't do that. He'd pray to God. He'd pray for help. But anyways, I plan to fight, though. Online students, just so you know, let me get close to you. If someone attacks my wife and my kids, I'm going to break their bones if I can, or get hurt in the process. I'm not going to stand by and go, you guys shouldn't do this. This isn't nice. I'm a man. I'm going to stand up for my family. It's my property. You don't mess with my property. I own them. I don't really love them at all, but I own them. I do love them. Well, okay, let's go on. The fact is, all of the martial arts were birthed from an anti-Christian womb. So you look at Christmas and these other things, not quite the same, apples and oranges, I know, but they come from a totally pagan source, wicked source, and then it kind of has grown to what it is today. And you say, well, it's not that bad. Like Halloween, it's not that bad. It's candy, kids having candy. Well, it's what it's associated and what it came from. And even what's going on with it today. I don't know too much about martial arts, but there's things where they, you'll see how ignorant I am, but energies that they practice and with Zen Buddhism and other techniques. So when they go like that, they stop before they hit you. And then they're visualizing energy going from that through the person's body. And it happens. So they say, and I think it does happen. And sometimes. With some people. Because devils can do that. Well, there's no real energy coming from your body per se, other than what a devil does. You might have seen the panda guy. That movie with the panda, the fat panda? Comedy?
Kung Fu Panda.
Oh yeah, which I've seen, okay? I've seen it. But there's a lot of, or a fair amount of Eastern mystic phenomena happening with what he's doing. The little finger thing, the little, oh no, don't do that! He's going to do with his pinky or something. He didn't teach you that! The master didn't teach you that! And he did. It's a special visualization to have the energy go out. So, let's go on though. That is why their philosophy attacks the teaching of Jesus at every hand, he writes, and their practices conflicts with his example. I discovered that the martial arts were not harmless practices, but that grave spiritual dangers lurked in every quarter of their use. The particular style I studied was Korean Hapkido, but all of the styles spring from the same source. Thus it is out of genuine concern that I feel obligated to make every Christian aware of spiritual dangers in martial arts. In this article, I researched some other ones that didn't get all the meat I wanted. So this is not as meaty as I wanted, but it's got some points for us. So they're from a false religion. Funk and Wagnall says, the art of karate is more than 1,000 years old and originated in the ancient Orient, first as monastic training, monks being trained in it, and later as a defense by Chinese peasants against armed bandits. Okay, that makes sense. Karate, Japanese for empty hand, developed much later than its forerunner, the Chinese Kung Fu, which is more diverse and holds closely to its Buddhist philosophical roots. So know all that. Karate, 1,000 years old or more. Chinese peasants trained and the monks were trained in it. And the karate means empty hand, and Chinese Kung Fu is much older. They say back about 3000 BC even, at old, and holds to Buddhist philosophical roots. Bob Larson, a good Christian author, he says, the original religious philosophy of Kung Fu dates back as far as, there it is, 2696 BC, where it was rooted in the occultic forms of divination known as the I Ching and the Book of Changes. Lao Tzu, Chinese sage born in 604 BC, added further demonic embellishments. His teachings were set forth in a 5,280-word manuscript called Tao Te Ching, often called simply the Tao, or the Way. He taught that salvation could not be found in prayer, but rather by the observance of nature, the natural way. With the adoption of Taoism, Kung Fu developed into a complex system of occult practices that included contemplation, whatever that is, and breathing exercises. Breathing exercises, well, dealing with meditation. The common doctrine of Kai or Ki made acupuncture an aid in the quest for health. Eventually this led into a search for the mysteries of the alchemy, and further tainting Kung Fu with overtones of demonism. Okay. The next development in the history of Kung Fu took place when a monk named Bodhidharma brought Buddhism to China. When he discovered the monks sleeping during his lectures, he introduced exercises to assist him in meditation. Known as Aichen Sutura, he combined Kung Fu with philosophical principles of Zen to develop a highly sophisticated form of weaponless defense, all from his students falling asleep in his lectures. We're going to learn weaponless defense here. What weaponless? So that means it's not so much you striking, it's mind over matter techniques. The monks at his Shaolin temple became famous for their savage abilities of defense employed whenever they were attacked in their course of pilgrimages. Christians who participate in the martial arts and insist that they do not include any form of occultism in their practice still cannot deny its patently occultic roots. So let's just say you have a dojo, a master you bow to, and all this stuff that is going to get rid of all the occult principles and philosophy. Okay, all right, but it has occultic roots, so you better be very careful. And also, there's a whole carnal side of it, and that's really my biggest concern. Now, if you go to someone who's not Christian, I think that's very foolish, because you're going to get all these techniques that are very dangerous, especially for a child. Really for anyone, but a child would be discerning. But let's say you go to a Christian one, he's going to remove all that. The bad part is teaching you to be confident in your skills at fighting, and you learn all that, you kind of want to use it. Come on, somebody, pick on me. I want to try out my flying back kick. Page 2. In the martial arts, the practitioner exercises mind over matter, and through meditation taps into a consciousness of greater power. So most people think it's just, you go like that. Look at me. This is hard to do. You go like that. You go like that, right? You go hi-ya, right? Hi-ya.
Hiya.
Hi-ya. And ho-ya. And kick and maybe just do some flying thing. Okay. But that's just the basics. What the more advanced folks are taught is this, I don't know the term for it, but the energy. You visualize the power that you have going through the person. That's not just you just think about it. You got to keep practicing this. And what you're doing is learning occultic techniques and having devils intervening in your life. Surprisingly, many Christians miss the connection between karate and the occult. So they're blinded to it. In order to break boards, one must focus, keen, whatever that is, he must see through the boards. See his fist emerging through the other side of them. This is the occultic practice of visualization and mind over matter. You say, oh, what's the big deal? Just because you visualize something doesn't mean the devil's possess your body. Just visualize us being done. Glorious, huh? Visualize you getting a degree out of this thing someday. Hey! Visualize it. Okay, you weren't possessed with the devil, were you? But the danger is getting your will down, your mind kind of dumbed down. It's focused on something, and it's potentially allowing devils to have more control over you if they wanted to. If you do it over and over and over again like they do, there you go. It's like reciting a mantra. It's very dangerous because, one, the mantra is often a deity, a so-called deity's name, and then number two is you're getting your mind just kind of down to nothingness, right, Brother Ron? Kind of like where you're at right about now. Nothingness going on. No, he's fine. Let's go on. So mind over matter. The same is true for shattering bricks or ice. You got to empty the mind of the thought of either pain or failure and concentrate all the energy of your body on a specific target. In entering such a mental state, the practitioner, willingly or not, has crossed over into the sinister realm of the occult. Well, it definitely is opening you up to things. You have to be careful. It's like taking drugs. Getting high on acid or something like that. All of a sudden, you are not in control like you used to be. And devils know that. They're waiting for someone to try and influence and even possess. The karate symbol is the yin-yang. Ancient religious symbol of contrast, good and evil, light and darkness, right and wrong. Masutatsu Yoyama, one of the world's most renowned karate experts, said, always more vital to karate than techniques or strength is the spiritual element that lets you move and act with complete freedom. Oyama has stated that Zen, which is occultism, Zen Buddhism is an essential ingredient in karate. In fact, it is precisely this occult connection through which the karate master derives his uncanny powers, such as catching bullets between his teeth. You laugh hysterically, don't you? Ha ha ha! Well, apparently they can do this. How do you do that?
How do you practice that?
You guys has a good dentist, I guess. I don't know. Pulling punches short of striking the body with the effect still felt, but that's less impressive than catching a bullet in the teeth. But nonetheless, and then exercising psychokinetic powers, moving objects by mental force alone. So some of these shows, if you've watched them, not many of them, these things that happen, you just kind of laugh at that, and it's kind of like Power Rangers, different things. It's just kind of like, that's cartoonish, that's not real. But there are people doing these things, attempting to do them, and devils can enter people or oppress people and be involved with people and can cause, if I wanted to have this go through Sister Anne's brain, and a devil can all of a sudden kind of have some things go through your brain. Yeah. But I would not want that. Furthermore, Oyama said, though it seems impossible, with karate, you can actually snap off the top of a beer bottle with your bare knife hand, or I guess your bare hand. Mastering the fundamentals of unflagging, constant daily spiritual and bodily training will make the impossible possible. Certainly breaking the neck of the beer bottle off and leaving the bottle standing is difficult. I guess so. But constant karate training can help you develop speed and strength that surpass common sense, he says. Remember Kung Fu when they would practice? Remember the show? I remember the one where he had the rice paper. He was supposed to walk on that, the young boy, and not disrupt whatever rice paper is. he'd always, in the beginning, leave a trail, and finally he got good enough. He was able to go across it. Remember the other one with snatching the pebble out of his hand? The old man's hand? He still had it, but finally he advanced to where he got it. And other things. And you watch that and you go, cool, man, he developed it. But what was happening was his, not so much his eye-hand coordination and speed, but it was developing mental powers. Oyama has also engaged in unarmed battle with bulls. In his lifetime, he dealt sudden death to 3 of them and broke the horns off 48 others. You laughed hysterically. Obviously, such amazing feats of strength spring from no mere human source. Hidetaka Nishiyama and Richard Brown in their book Karate, The Art of Empty-Handed Fighting, said, at an advanced level, it is even possible for a karate expert to sense the movements of his opponent before they take place. But what do they know? Though such divining is not uncommon in any practice of occultism, it's a matter, of course, forbidden by God, as we see in I think it's Deuteronomy. Thus, to deny an occult source and presence in the karate is to deny the obvious. It is there, but it doesn't mean anyone who practices karate is practicing occultism. But it's more than likely they are. Going on, additionally, martial arts practitioners traffic in other aspects of pagan idolatrous religions, like just walking on hot coals, lying on a nail bed. Why would you do that? That's not fighting. Well, it's teaching your body control. Remember Kung Fu guy, dude? I remember one time, or several times, he got put in the little tent thing where he's going to bake. You know, they were going to teach him a lesson. So he was in there with it's like a little jail cell, but it's just this little tiny thing. It's in the sun in there. It's like 160 degrees in there. And he would just sit there, mind over matter. He would barely sweat while the other guy was just dying. Because he has powers. Powers! And a young child or a young man might think of that and go, I want those powers. And they get involved, read the books on it, and they go off from their Christian roots into Eastern mysticism. All from martial arts. This practice is linked to Buddhism, Hinduism. Even the term martial arts itself denotes the arts of war, deriving from Mars, the ancient Roman god of war, Mars. Thus, its very title presupposes violence and aggression. And so it's a good question here. How can a disciple of Jesus Christ get deeply involved with something that's based on war, fighting, hurting, and then all the occultic elements there? And advancing to different and higher planes is represented by different colored belts. So as you go up, you start off with the white belt. And what's the final belt?
Black.
Black. And its progression in colors and deeper and darker and more sinister and more occultic. Black is mysterious. White is pure and nice. So those belts aren't just picked out of the clear blue or green.
Orange.
Yeah. Karate students bow to their instructors and the Eastern Masters, right? They go, hello. Say something. Should they really be bowing? Should they really be showing such respect to one who is many times representing the occult? Like, as a Christian guy, there's no occult, okay, I guess you're not. But the other guys are bowing and showing respect and honor to a person who practices, more than likely, occultism, Buddhism, Satanism. And you're bowing, showing respect. That's ridiculous. Well, they require that at the dojo rats, you know. The formal exercises in karate are called katas. There are different katas, or katas, which consist of a series of exercises in imaginary situations. Well, the katas are aimed at awakening the 4 natural elements, earth, wind, light, and fire within you. Hey, isn't that good to know? Oh, good. I want that awakened. No, you don't. And this is followed by meditation on emptiness. Emptying your mind of everything. All based in, really, Satanism. The place where karate is practiced is called the do, which means the way. Karate do means the way of life. The martial arts are not merely innocent exercises, they are a way of life. Well, for most people that get into it. You may just practice it a little bit here and there. I read a book on Tetsugo once. I think it's more kicking. A little pamphlet I picked up, and I tried to practice this stuff. I never had anyone that wanted to fight with me, so it's kind of boring. So, Tetsugo, so the book went away after 2 weeks and got a sore leg out of the deal. But some people get into it and it becomes a lifestyle. Diet, all these things, and the spiritual nature too. The concept of self-defense is itself both unscriptural and anti-Christian as we finish off here. Some believers may argue this point, considering self-defense both justifiable and Christian. But even they must realize that the violent spirit of karate is neither. So I understand you want to protect your family, or you just want to protect yourself in a dark alley. But I would submit to you that it would be much wiser as a Christian to not rely on your own powers, but to rely on God's powers and His holy angels. You don't do foolish things. You walk according to His will and you stay close to Him. But as we look at karate and martial arts and all this, it violates the golden rule, which is so-called.
You would have them do it to you.
Yeah, you want them hitting you in the face? No. It contradicts the direct commands of Jesus. You don't have to know all these, but you're supposed to love your enemies. So you got your enemy there. You're going to love them by kicking them. Turn the other cheek. You're not going to touch me. What happens if they come after us as Christians and they're coming after you and you and you? Are you going to fight? Are you going to hide? Or are you just going to go about your beeswax, and if they take you and burn you at the stake, so be it. Interesting. We're not supposed to resist evil. I have to look that one up. That one doesn't jive right in my brain. Bless them that curse you. Okay, that's true. It's all in the same section there, so it's probably right. I'm just probably using NIV on that one. Do good to them that hate you. So think about that, the principles that a Christian is supposed to live by, and then you're practicing. There's probably somebody who's spending hundreds of hours practicing this, and it doesn't line up with Scripture. In fact, the alert reader will at once realize that both in practice and philosophy, the martial arts directly violates not only all of the aforementioned Scripture, plus at least half the principles of the Lord's Sermon on the Mount, like being merciful, being pure in heart, being a peacemaker. Remember Billy Jack, that show, that movie or whatever it was, I was a youngster in that one. I remember him saying to this one guy, the taller guy, he goes, my left foot is going to cross your right cheek. There's not anything you can do about it. The guy laughed also. Yeah! And did that and knocked him out. I thought that was so cool. I wanted to get into it and learn about that. I'm glad I didn't. And this philosophy, is this the philosophy you will learn in karate? Turning your cheek or kicking your adversary's cheek? Surrendering your goods to the robber or harming the robber? Did Jesus teach and set an example of self-denial or self-defense? And another big problem, maybe the biggest problem for us, if it's a Christian type atmosphere, is it involves this body worship type scene. There's bodybuilding, exercising, going to gyms, that whole thing. Starting to look at your body and what it can do, and I'm getting toned up, and look at my kick and body worship. How is Christ glorified by stunts of physical strength? No one in history was stronger than Samson, yet even his mightiest feats of strength did not result in the conversion of a single Philistine. He tore off not mere handcuffs, but the gigantic gates of Gaza, laid them on his shoulders, and deposited them on a hilltop miles away, yet even this feat did not bring a single Philistine to repentance and faith in the God of Israel. This being true, how are we to believe that kicking a few bricks and breaking a few boards will somehow cause wholesale repentance among the unsaved? As they come and watch us, oh, I want to be saved because you're strong. I want to be saved because you can break boards, man. Well, they might get saved there, but that's not going to bring them to salvation. They need to hear the gospel. That's just the sugar, what got them there. The drug they wanted to see, the hype. And I don't agree with that, mixing that with the gospel. I don't think you should mix anything with the gospel, with adults at least. Of kids, we will say that I think it's okay to have little games and things you do with kids. Because they're kids. Be very careful on it. Don't go over where you have crafts, right? Do these things. Why? That doesn't have anything to do with the gospel. Well, you want them to keep coming back. Maybe give them a little sucker or a treat. So that's with kids, and that's a whole other story. But adults, they need to hear the gospel, that barrel straight, not mix it all together with what I would call carnality. Let's be brutally honest, he says. Who is increasing through martial arts and bodybuilding demonstrations? Who's increasing here? Isn't it the karate practitioner who is attracting all the attention, praise, and admiration as he grunts and kicks, jumps and breaks boards, and all these things. It's him they're looking at, and they applause. They had this at a youth rally I went to as an adult, leading a teen group there, but I think it was at our, I won't say where, the city up north there, many years ago, and they had this karate group come through, and I was like, man, pretty good, but this doesn't seem right. And it wasn't right. Isn't it the strong man who rips apart phone books and snaps baseball bats who is admired and not Jesus? How many people see these things and go, wow, Jesus be glorified? Well, you might be able to do that as you think of their skill level and strength, but most likely you're looking at their ability and saying, that's so awesome. Scripture declares that the Christian's weapons are not carnal. Right? What are they? They're spiritual. It's a spiritual one. Our warfare is a spiritual one against spiritual adversary, the devil. So our weaponry needs to be spiritual, not carnal. We should be going to many, many hours of training how to fight spiritually, not physically. We can state unequivocally that virtually every aspect of the martial arts is either carnal or occult. And there you have it. Let's take a break.
And the test is in this next week.